So what do we do to clean up the stuff that's already there, besides we spend time fixing that?
So being fresh on that.
Assigning maintainers
Aha.
to charms.
That's what I was gonna say.
Okay, done, next session.
Yeah, awesome. Let's go to 205.
What about,
okay.
what about based on the automated testing you're doing? If it fails X amount of tests over X amount of time,
Oh,
and then you have to resubmit it.
I'd say that's it's a good reason to, we should like automate file the critical bug against the charm.
That'd probably be more worthwhile procedure.
And then this is something that needs to go in the queue.
wait, sorry, so failing tests for a period of time, auto files bugs?
Yeah, I don't want it to automate unpromulgation. Like, I still want that to be adding and removing
Yeah,
from
but
the
it needs to put on
archive.
a bucket list that this is unmaintained, and then we say, okay.
And the key is, it should, we can't make the release, like, we can't move to the next one until those are all.
You
Oh,
gotta speak up, I can't hear you.
so policy would be to,
So we're gonna file a critical bug when a charm fails all its tests for like a couple weeks or 10 times in a row or whatever. And we should go through and clean those out whenever we can. Like, that should be something that happens regularly, like
Part of the review process.
Part of the review process, part of bug
Another
triage.
thing for that kid.
Single queue. I'd love to
Policy
see,
perfect. Critical bugs, outstanding.
I'd love to see a single queue for all of charm
Can you change your-
that includes these kinds of things.
Purpose.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
Just get them
and
all.
it's only sorted by age. Like, you just work the youngest thing that
So
you know how to
splitting them
do.
up by category, just
Yeah.
Shove
Is
it by
that
age,
for the
by
big list? Is that the big list?
the big
Yeah.
list.
Yeah, we're gonna make a little webpage where
Harvest.
it'll show you all that.
Steal Daniel's page, like, this is the review, this is the sponsorship queue on steroids, like, just have things that charmers can do.
Yeah, you're gonna require each one of the charms that are in the official to have its own set of testing. So-
No, but I'd love to get to a place where we do that. Right now, we need to have
We're
it
gonna get
running.
to it if we don't start asking for it.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly, we don't
Yeah.
run the tests. So I'd like to start asking for it first before requiring it.
Yeah.
And we should be encouraging it, and all the charms, we already should have them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a point in the next few weeks where we just need to be talking a whole shitload
Yeah.
about testing.
I think we could do that as early as the next release.
And do you have any suggestions on how to do this testing? Because it's not, like mine's are done in bash, there's no bashing.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
Yeah,
There's a
that's
step
a
on it.
great question, actually, because
Well,
most
this
tests are
falls
gonna
in
look
the
mostly the same.
Exactly, so.
Does that mean that would fall under charm helper or charm tools for?
I think so, we
Yeah.
can even have charm test helpers, and
Sure, tools probably. But I think an important part of it is how it exits. Like, there's a couple constraints around the test. They can be done in anything.
Yeah.
They just have to sort of support bash, exit.
Yeah, exits, zero.
Exit
one.
0 is a passing test.
Yeah.
Exit
that's
1.
actually already in the spec. But
No, but-
I think what he's saying, what Juan is saying is for the content of the text itself, like, we wanna simplify writing tests.
So
Like-
if all the charms, let's say we'll have
Oh, I
10
see.
charms, and they all have a test folder, and then there's a predetermined way to run these tests, and a predetermined way that the exit on failure, exit on success, then theoretically we can create a framework in which after you submit the charm, we can just run the test, and if everything comes out at 0, more than likely it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You can simplify the whole
Yeah.
testing.
We
Even if
know
it's
what that
not
would
to go
be.
and check it, but
Jenkins has the ability to do what's called a param build. So you say, run the usual build that you do, which just does a bunch of things, with these new parameters. So you would give it the path to that branch that you're about to promulgate. So you would push up there
There's config for just
Yeah.
testing a branch.
and then say, Jenkins, test that. And when it passes, we can even make it so that Jenkins' job does the promulgate.
yeah, that'd be fine.
That
So
would be
For
awesome.
example, the way you test MySQL is completely different to the way that I would test Cloud Foundry or
Mhm.
Mongo. or-
Well, actually, what we can do though is the charm tester is a charm and can be done where any individual can test their charm against the charm, by the charm tester. So they'll know how it's gonna behave in the official charm tester.
Maybe that's subordinate. Make the
Yeah,
test a subordinate.
It's just data.
That's maybe heavy, but
Maybe.
I'm just trying to find a way that we all see the charm, and then when we're reviewing, I'm looking for this test folder that will have the test that you think it needs to be checked.
Well, So yeah, we would be crazy if we didn't make it really easy for users to run their own tests.
Yeah.
Like, if we're gonna ask people to run tests or write tests, we need to make it like really easy to iterate on them fast. I think the way to do that is to make the charm flexible enough to have users run it.
That was
And it,
my thought.
first, I want to land the ability for charm tester to run these tests, because it doesn't even have that yet.
Right.
And then I want to iterate that down into a really tight process for users. So they can just have a test folder, have all the tests in there, and just say, run my test, run my test, run my test over there.
So I'm looking
So they
for something similar to like hiding it, where
Mhm.
you say,
Yep.
the test and, ta-da.
Yeah, I think we'll grow those into charm tools. And then in some cases, people write their tests in Python, and they'll use,
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's a better
Unit test.
answer, right? Because the charm tester, the charm,
Mhm.
is just using charm tools
yeah,
to do the test. So
Yeah.
yes, that's part of charm tools.
yeah.
And if your thing passes the charm tools command line test, it'll pass the battery of tests we're putting against it
So-
officially on a regular basis.
Yeah, so best way to prevent bit rot, automated testing, and get things out of the charm store that are failing tests.
But you also said that there is no delete out of the charm store.
That's a bug in
Yeah, that's,
the charm store code that is acknowledged as needs to be fixed, and it has to be able to delete. It arises from the model that was used to sync with Launchpad, which
Yeah.
is just tell me everything that has had a bizarre prevent since a certain date. We actually needed to say, tell me everything that has been touched. So that will be. And actually, Charm World, jujucharms.com doesn't delete things either. So there's a Rabbit and a RabbitMQ, RabbitMQ and RabbitMQ server charm listed in Precise right now
Yeah.
on Charm World, but if you look on Bazaar in Launchpad, there's no RabbitMQ, because we had a problem with it. There's a Hadoop master and Hadoop slave have also been unpromulgated for just Hadoop, but if you
Yeah.
look in the Charm store, you look in Charm World, they're there. So yeah, I think the policy is, if there's any critical bugs, they have to be dealt with before we open a new series. And get those critical bugs.
Do we want to assign a certain milestone to, it's like, these charms happen to this point in the cycle, and then we just promulgate them? Because by then we'll just realize we don't care, right? Or nobody cares about them.
This is handled pretty ad hoc in Ubuntu, and I think we can just copy that.
Okay.
Which is just that by release, they all need to be gotten
This
rid
is like
of.
the third or fourth time we're just following what distro does. Which is weird, because last time we were like,
well, last
do
time
what distro's not doing.
this is less of a hard problem.
Yeah.
This is
Well,
actually an easy.
I'll tell you, the way I feel about it is that the last time we were like, yeah, everybody hates the way the distro works. And then we like did things the way the distro didn't work. And we're like, oh man, I hate that way more. So it's the lesser of two evils of doing
Good to
things.
see we've matured as an organization.
We're immature. Basically, we were Gen 2. Now we're
Hey,
following Ubuntu.
come on.
Hopefully we'll get to Arch at some point.
Yeah.
Well, I also, stuff we talked about earlier with what was it called, the bug, the thing you were saying, the patch pilot, might be relevant to clearing this up as well.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be a step in the right direction, definitely.
Right, especially when these just show up in the patch pilot thing. It's just another, okay, I happen to have an incoming charm today, and today I found one that's been abandoned.
So what do we do to charms that don't have maintainers right now?
We should address maintainers right now.
We can
So-
have a charm workman, just come pick up the charm to maintain.
So the maintainer thing that I sent out, it seems to be universally accepted, a good idea.
Yeah.
This is an exact example of where we asked before we put something in metadata YAML. And it's been, yes, let's put maintainer. So this will help with the cleaning up of things, is that we need to have a single person to contact or email
Or a
address to
group?
contact.
Group, like a launchpad
Can
group?
be a group.
Correct.
It just needs to be an email address.
Got it.
that receives email from us.
So the format, I remember you sent an email, I don't remember the,
Just email.
Yeah, people were saying
just
that
the email address, no name associated with it?
Yeah, no, I think a name is fine.
prefer a name if possible, because then it's one person, but
Whatever the RC is,
cool.
a to address. You know, if I can put it in an email as to, without
Automatically?
I think that's probably all that should matter.
Name space bracket, email bracket.
Yeah.
So how's this as a work item?
Let's use carrots.
Yeah.
Just for percent signs. Work item, maintainer day was universally, implement, yes, thank you. So yeah, we will implement that idea. The plan is to first make charm tools suggested with charm proof. So we stop accepting all charms without maintainer and we start creating charms with maintainer filled in using like the
A thought would be that when you do promulgate, it runs the proof, just in case.
We should actually do that. That is a great idea.
Yeah.
So
Juan.
when you know.
And that's a good, for this
You got the
exact, can you
I'm
give one?
adding it now.
Oh, no, that's for one.
Oh, no.
Promulgate should run proof. Promulgate should run proof. I think that's a great idea.
Yep.
Because it's cheap and it will.
It is, it's cheap.
You kind of do it anyway, so.
And we
Well,
should,
if it's cheap, it's just a line of code, yeah, I'll do it.
it is, and because I think we've been careful enough with proof that all error items
So who
are
wants this one?
real.
So Quentin, you want this one?
No, that was one.
I think unless one doesn't want it.
Doesn't matter.
I could,
I think any one more involved.
How about we just
more
don't
work is
care
fine.
who has it?
I can put it, you can put it to me.
It's a
I
to-do.
can- It's great, I mean, I'll do it.
Yeah, that's what's,
Give Mark more work.
Copy and paste.
You can actually put my work items for doing the maintainer stuff on here too, which is just to update charm tools to support the maintainer field, and then go through and assign maintainers to all existing charms.
And, who's
how
gonna
do
be that?
we do that?
Shouldn't
Last-
this be the author?
Non-charmer committer?
Well, wait, I did a lot of reading.
No, I was actually thinking.
Yeah, I did a lot of readme fixes.
No, I actually think what we should do is go through the commits and send an
Original
email
authors.
to anybody who's committed to the charm and say,
Are you willing?
these are the people who've committed to the charm. Raise your hand if you'd like to be the maintainer on it. We could be a little more forceful
Smart.
on it and say, we're going to assign maintainer to this person because they have the most commits.
For that matter, we could go upstream and volunteer them and see if they'll agree to do it.
Well, maybe for one that doesn't get a response, but
I like that idea, because I was gonna say, well, I
He
mean,
found
they don't have
someone
a maintainer,
interested
it's
in
an
Postgres
official.
at scale. Did that
Yeah,
go
I did.
anywhere?
Awesome.
not really.
Follow through.
Yeah. Oh no, we've emailed. He's just not interested.
Oh,
in
you
Juju.
know?
So you're not gonna
Who's
put
the
the
really
term
long-
on
Burkus was interested in
Launch
Juju a
pickup?
little bit though.
Oh, I haven't talked to him.
Long haired launch pickup.
Who? Yeah, we have a lot of Postgres
Yeah.
interested people at
Well,
Canonical. I think
kind of
that's-
need them.
Yeah.
I have a question about,
No, sorry, you used up your question.
Okay, good, then I'm gonna go home now. So, what do we do about people, how do we handle when current maintainers no longer wish to maintain or no longer have an interest in maintaining?
Right.
How do we handle that process?
So I think we should, once again, follow Debian in this one.
I don't know if
They have an orphan process. You essentially send an email to Debian Devel and say, I'm orphaning this package. And I'm not clear on the exact details, but it no longer is your problem. And if nobody steps up to take it, then it gets removed.
Okay, I'm giving you an item to
So
document
then,
that. Make it
if no one
lightweight.
comes up to the charm, would it just be unpromulgated? The maintainer-
Unpromulgated, removed, gone.
Okay.
No maintain. The idea behind getting maintainers is no maintainer, no
No
charm.
proclamation.
Now, there are going to be things that I think we're going to agree are critical to Juju, like MySQL, that we are going to
Charmers.
be, it's like Charmers is going to be,
And that's, that was gonna be the question, you know, at some point, some of those charms are gonna, maintainer is gonna be the charmers. Us?
yeah, I'd like for it to become a person, like,
Or
or a group, or
Yeah.
a team.
Oh, that's.
Like Adam.
That's a group,
Right,
charmers.
there'll be OpenStack Charmers that owns that, and then Adam is a member of that group, as well as Charmers being a member of that group, and we go from there.
So we'll do groups, that's fine, but eventually I'd like it, nothing to be specifically only maintainer charmers. But I think in the beginning, there are some that are just gonna have to do that one,
Okay.
right? But we want, even with that, I think we want one entity, one group, one team, one person that is where the buck stops for that. Like, I'd like the model where, to contrast to Ubuntu and Debian here, Debian, the maintainers are the most respected persons with that package. You can be a non-maintainer and upload their package, but you do so in a very respectful way. You let them know. Debian actually has delayed queues, so you can say, hey, I fixed a really important bug in your package and I uploaded it to the 7-day delayed queue. And it sits there for 7 days, just in case the maintainer wants to fix it in a different way. But then it goes. Whereas in Ubuntu, we're all Ubuntu core devs, we maintain what's in Ubuntu, we respect like the experts that are in Ubuntu and something. I'm not gonna touch Grub without talking to Colin, but like, and I'm not gonna touch Grub, because, oh my God. But I think the Charmers model is closer to the Ubuntu one, but I want to get a little bit more ownership on Charms. Because I think we're actually doing something more like what Debian is, because there is no upstream that has that strong maintainership. And I like that for the cleanup idea of like, somebody's going to feel responsible for it breaking in the new release. And it's their responsibility. Whereas we're going to be like, oh man, we have to delete half the Charm store.
We can't feel responsible for that. We would sleep over it.
It's like, I'm going to delete Subway, I'm going to delete status.
Yeah.
No. Like I fixed a couple of Charms that were just flat out broken because I like them. But yeah, there's other ones, and we need a maintainer who, because the thing is, right now, when you get your Charm promulgated, you kind of get disconnected from your Charm.
Yeah. That is so wrong.
It is wrong.
I can't push to my Charm after I promulgate it.
That is.
So how do we fix that?
Well, there's a reason you can't push to your Charm if you promulgate, which is that you haven't proven yet that you're trustworthy enough with root on all their boxes.
Yeah.
We have a really lightweight process for getting that. Like basically +1s from people who are in the know. And those +1s come when you've done a couple of Charms and shown that you're not doing crazy crack.
And the last time that we talked about that, you said that, it was a small group, what is it, 2 + 1s? And
Yeah,
have you established that as a policy?
That's the policy. That's
2 +
actually
1s?
there on our policy page right now. Is if you can get 2 members of Charmers to +1 your application, then go ahead. So, and thus far we've had, I'd say, I think there's 25 members. We've probably turned away 10.
But with Patch Pilot coming in too, there's also with that group the responsibility associated with reviews and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That'll
Yeah.
be more explicit now.
Yeah. So maintainers specifically, I'm going to address that again. I'll go through. I'll figure out a good way to pick maintainers and email people. We'll just do an automated run through the Charm store.
Majority.
I'll probably make an announcement too. Hey, assign yourself to the Charms that you know you're the maintainer of.
Yeah. Do that first. Give
Because
people
that way
a few
Charmers,
warnings.
yeah, we'll get it, and people can raise their hand and say.
So
I wrote
quick
that
question,
one.
this will just be another thing in the YAML file? Maintainer?
Correct.
Maintainer.
Right.
Hold on, the metadata, that YAML file, right?
Yes.
Yes.
When? When?
So that's already been +1 by upstream development, so we can do that whenever.
So it's not like if I add it now, you're just gonna start complaining and just crap.
Juju will not complain about unknown fields.
Okay.
And
Let's pick it
I know
right
we
now.
agreed to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that this morning, but I'm hopeful that it's going to be obvious real quick that that's not a good idea and we're not going to do that.
Or that it's lost.
And I asked because earlier today we started.
Because if we start making a complaint about unknown fields, then old versions of Juju get broken really fast, and I hope we don't do that.
Yes.
Proof needs to do it. We should warn, we should not publish it to the Juju Charm store, but the client should not care.
Okay.
So either way, client doesn't care right now. Ignores unknown fields right now. We'll add it
Okay.
by the end of this week.
Totally
if not
separate.
next week.
Sorry, totally separate side tangent question. Should proof check the environment for current fields?
I'm sorry, what?
environments.yaml.
Should it what?
It would be useful for a charm tool that would check your environment for currently valid fields.
Or deprecated
It's
ones.
Juju.
Yank this one out.
Juju does that already. It does
Juju
it all
does
the time,
that
but
for
still
you.
those
Yeah, it either works or it doesn't.
No, actually, no, you told me that the default series is deprecated, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm
So
basically.
he wants
Well, I don't get worries about that.
That's told me that.
Instance ID,
Yeah.
it actually does tell you about it.
Instance ID, but default series, no. Default
Yeah.
series is fine. Yeah, you told me it was deprecated, so.
Okay, never mind, you're right, it should go into Juju.
It should, but I just want to.
Ju- with file
Juju's
messages on.
core team will do that
Log
when
in.
they are ready. I'm fine with you guys using default series. That's just the, oh, don't do that, that's a terrible idea thing.
I think it's awesome.
I think it's awesome
Share
too.
your pie.
There is one thing, which is that there's a desire to move anything that isn't a value to help you access the environment out of environments.yaml. But there's no alternate file yet, so that may be why default series hasn't moved yet. Because we do need like a settings.yaml or something for stuff like that.
I think that's going to get forward with the resource map.
More moving pieces, it's harder to set up for new users.
Another, I think actually what I'd rather see is settings.yaml that has environments and settings.
Hey, do we have a create environment plan somewhere?
And then deprecate environments, you know.
Yeah.
What?
That it would be a good idea to have a create environment somewhere.
Jujitsu has that.
Okay.
Type Jitsu setup environment.
Stupid question in front of me.
But it's kind of crap, and I'd love to see some improvement on it. But it just goes through an interactive question answer, like what type do you want to do? What access key do you want to use?
By default, instead of creating an empty environment YAML, it should just give you a skeleton, you know, here's my OpenStack config, here's my LXC config, here's an EC2 one, here's OpenStack,
Yeah, I think
whatever.
that was-
And you just uncomment out what you need, and then you just, I found the bug on it, you know,
Yeah.
Rick Spencer was like, why don't you guys just do that?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
"Dude." So I found the bug on that.
Cool.
Yep.
See, I help you, brother.
Okay.
Cool. Well, this looks pretty straightforward, I mean.
It does. What? Why doesn't Mims have anything?
Testing.
He's overloaded. I know. Charm testing.
You get to hunt down all the maintainers.
Did you see my bug on your Ubuntu server charm?
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Called the bug one.
I want a config option to do the latest +1 release, so we can use it for cloud image testing and stuff.
Wouldn't you just target that against the series?
Yeah, we'll just put it in Quantum.
Yeah, so you deployed the Quantum version of the Ubuntu charm.
That it'll work. You don't have to change anything in the charm to do that. That charm should never.
And it will always grab the latest AMI.
It'll grab the released. So that's a bug in Juju. But
Right. So what if, you know, it's
we
during
can't
development?
control AMI in the charm now. Yeah, Juju has to do that.
Okay. Is there no, wherever we put our AMIs, you know,
Mhm.
like symlink to like a latest kind of thing?
So
You know what I'm saying?
Juju queries cloud images.ubuntu.com/query,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's like this massive text file of all the cloud images,
Mm-hmm.
and they look for the latest released in whatever series.
Oh, so when Moser does stuff, this theoretically should
So
just work.
Alpha 1, Alpha 2, Alpha 3, Beta 1.
I think even on OpenStack too.
Okay. So if I'm on Precise, I can do Juju deploy, Ubuntu /Precise, or is it?
You would,
Or
well,
Quantal
when there's a Quantal Alpha 1,
Yeah.
you would do Quantal/Ubuntu, and you'll get a Quantal server.
That's so awesome.
I'm telling you, it's the coolest term ever.
No.
Juju deploy Ubuntu.
You know, because remember, I used to just fire up a Bootstrap just to mess with
Exactly.
it.
Well, and Bootstrap is kind of the same thing. Less formal. Well, and there's another good use case for,
Testing to help derivatives and stuff.
yeah,
Right.
there's another good use for Ubuntu, which is, as a charm, which is that you can deploy any subordinates to it. So
Yeah.
as subordinates go nuts and people go realize, hey, that's like co-location. Actually, Robert Collins was really excited yesterday. Hi, Robert, if you're listening. Because he never really grasped, because our documentation was badly written. Juju deploy charm name, service name, means you can deploy the same charm in two different services that are completely separate and unrelated to each other in a single environment. So it wasn't clear to him from the
Yeah,
user tutorial from a shallow level, that we were allowing you to deploy 2 distinct MySQLs in one environment. Because it just says Juju deploy MySQL. And then the server's name is MySQL. He thought there was this one-to-one. And he
Because
thought the developers were crazy for not allowing that.
Whenever I do a charm school, I
Happen.
start by showing those scripts
Yeah.
to start stuff up.
And that's
get those-
partially my fault
show how it's used.
because when I try to keep it simple, when you guys have examples like that, I always get rid of that.
It's
You
way
guys do
faster.
my wiki. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, strip
My head, my
That's so
wiki,
confusing.
my
Yeah,
app.
like all that stuff, I'm like, in order to, because it's
Oh,
still
no,
the point
yeah,
where
yeah,
it's like, how that
No, no,
different?
it might not be the absolute first thing you show. The first thing you show should be simpler, but you really should get to the point quickly where it really should. That's a huge feature that takes people a second to see.
Okay, well, I'm really glad you guys mentioned that, because, okay.
I actually already fixed user tutorial. So,
Did you commit?
yeah, it's up. So now it uses WordPress-DB only for the MySQL part, so you can see how it works either way.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I like it.
And then I noticed that the status YAML is out of date, the old format.
Yeah, well.
But,
All right.
you know what I didn't see on the schedule? Yeah, about charm documentation or Juju documentation.
I'm being told that we might have resources to have dedicated stuff.
Woot!
Yeah. So, Robbie's on it.
You mentioned in one session today at some point that when you do
It's only Tuesday.
you deploy MySQL, it would default to,
Right now, precise.
just not happening.
And
I presume that is because my environment.
You might have default series on there, yeah.
Check.
I'm going to try Juju deploy.
Then it would be useful if we could actually, instead of pushing the version, we could just do deploy MySQL, and depending on which machine you are, assume it's a different one, if you don't say otherwise. Like
So-
if you're like Quantum machine, it will deploy Quantum to your machines if you don't say otherwise.
But it doesn't really matter what your client machine is because
I
this
know
works
it
in OS
doesn't.
X, right?
I
So
know it doesn't, but I think it's a good.
we need a same default.
I don't know, I disagree, because I think the default should be the LTS. I will be on Quantal deploying an infrastructure in Precise.
Yeah. What your client machine is running has very little to do with what you want on your
Yeah,
service. Yeah, we've come
Yeah.
to that,
We tried.
and we've gone around and back and forth, and the best simple answer we can come up with is to just pick the latest LTS.
Preview.
That's what will happen until we just change our mind again.
Yeah, next week we'll be totally good.
Okay.
What's
Jamie's trying to go.
Have you, this might not be the right session, but it could be, it might be the documentation thing. Have you guys defined the processes for reviewing charms? Like a rigorous, this is what you need to look for, maybe even have tools that.
So we had a pretty knockdown drag out about tools and where the charm should live and how reviews should work. And we didn't even get to the content of what should a review entail. The closest thing you know is, well, we have the rules for whether a charm should be rejected, but we don't have the process for checking for those rules.
We have the farm proof tool that'll make suggestions, but.
Yeah, we have a static analysis tool.
It's not a.
And we have
Doesn't encompass
must
everything.
do this, must do that, must do that, but we don't have,
That's mostly for functionality and
Oh.
operating well within the Juju framework,
Mhm.
as opposed to what I'm thinking about is security stuff.
right,
Yes, we
must
talked
not.
last time about like tags and what it would do to earn a tag, but things that could be tested in an automated manner. So perhaps it's about taking the charm testing framework and augmenting that to do some sort of security test. I don't know whether that's possible.
That's not good enough. Like, I know what Jamie's getting at, and I agree with him, that we need to have security guidelines for charm authors that are being checked by charm reviewers. And right now, the only one we have is, you can't have a default password.
Oh.
So no default password.
Well, we kind of said no non-cryptographic verified.
And you have to have cryptographically verified that. That is a must. It does say.
It's why some of our charms are like Rails and some of those are not in
And they won't be in the term store.
Node apps should probably be removed because they're full of shit.
Just say,
Yeah.
we just
Some of them
reply
are
with like,
security
we should hang out,
We're trying to
usually with George.
Okay, why don't you
Um,
reply saying, yeah.
But we know we can do more.
Why don't you reply?
Yeah, it's, if you have
Yeah, we should.
ideas, like,
Or do it as a
I would actually love to record those
Let's do
too.
it. That's the last time. Juju on this one.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's hard to automate because if you do channel, right, in there, I mean, that's fine for some things, but it wouldn't necessarily be fine for something else.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to channel, it's a channel, right, or something, or do a dash capital R, necessarily.
Oh, so static on it, yeah, you're right, that would totally be possible.
Right, but you can have a tool that would like grab for certain things, and then you would get a report, and then someone would be
I wonder,
Curl pipe to see.
there used to be this old tool called Bastille,
Yeah.
and it would like try really hard to harden your system, and you could run it in a way that would just tell you all the problems. Is that a viable approach at all? Like, do people still use that? Like,
They don't.
Been out of
use
security for a
tools
long
out
time.
of- We looked at it a couple,
Yeah, it's pretty
about
awesome.
2 years ago.
Like further on the
Yeah.
And it's our, the stuff that is still applicable, we're doing.
Actually, that's
Uh-huh.
really
And the other
good.
stuff is just kind
It's
of.
both fun, but
Let's do that later in the week.
I don't do anything for Wednesday.
because I like the idea of at least kind of like a check root kit, but
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause some of these are code
screw
scripts.
myself over.
Yeah,
Second script.
That's Ubuntu.
That's useful in many different ways, and I also think that other environments are doing it.
Our automated
It's not
test
perfect.
brings up
Places.
instances, right now, let's see instances of each of the services that the charm would be for. So, and even related charms in some cases. What about an existing image, are there ways that you can out extra stuff? Can you test, when you're testing, it's both static?
Yeah, yeah.
Or you have
Yeah.
tools
We
that
have
are,
some static tools.
That was a lot of fun.
Or I've written to run after I install Amazon.
yeah.
So you do the standard website ID and, the file system checks and various permissions. But it's also dumped in like a normalized app owner policy so that I can compare like what's in this ISO, what's in this ISO, policy gets different things. There's a lot more that can be done. But an approach like that could work, is you could you could run this, get your report, deploy the chart, and then do the report.
Yeah.
Change.
That would be useful for us. Also, from a standpoint of helping us.
Oh, yeah, it's
way
way
forward.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't know that we could automate that to the point where we'd say, well, if it passes that, it's good. But we can definitely know what to look for because that's what that thing looks for.
Oh, no, but that's hard, that's a lot of work, but we could definitely put it up and see if it fails this test, or passes this test, then that.
Yeah, it's just like any other static analysis. If you fail the static analyzer, you get kicked out immediately.
Well, this
If you
is
pass
actually-
it, then you go on to human review.
Sorry, maybe I'm misunderstanding, this would be a dynamic test to me. This would not be a static test, this would be, you bring that LXC instance up, and now you hit it with your suite of tests that do whatever security test that check to see what's that's like.
It's a dynamic form of static analysis. Like,
Well,
you're looking
the
for
tool
obvious
that
problems.
I've written, it's just a report, but as it turns out, you can
Bless you.
Yeah, you're not
run the command on the
You're
report
analyzing.
that makes it something that you could do. You need it the way it's currently.
Oh,
It's
I
not going to fail by.
Well, the additional ability to get into, the way we're spinning them up right now in the test is without it to containers, so we have access to the file systems and really read this potentially on them. So that's that.
You just read it as a subordinate too. Or you can use, I've done this too. Use the charm splice tool, and the way the splice works is
Preceded with the test.
it runs them in order that you splice them. So you have before charm, and then after. And I've done this already just to see what the charm did. You run it before, you snapshot the file system, you run the charm install, and then you run after to see what they broke.
We certainly have to do both. I'm a fan of doing the automated stuff as much as possible, just because the human engineering parts of the review, or the human parts of the review process.
What about
But
something like,
even defining what it is you want to look for can then,
Yeah.
help you with automation.
yeah, there was another tool that I used to make use of, like, getting older. Where we like scan for every known network vulnerability against an IP address.
Metasploit?
It was like the predecessor. But yeah, there's a bunch of those.
Nessus.
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 Nessus was cool.
Still around?
Can't we just,
But the database, I think, is.
well, whatever the current like well-accepted open source alternative for that is, like point that at every service, just as a reference point. Like we can even deploy that as a charm.
Yeah.
And have it always scanned as part of our automated test. You deploy a known service.
Somebody record that, that's a really cool idea.
What's that?
Whatever Nessus or Metasploit or like
Actually, I'm just,
That's another
Just-
thing,
nmap the thing.
yeah, the tools that I've written, that's another thing. I'll show the ports that are out there, various, all kinds of stuff. So, I mean, but you can, it's written so that with the idea that I can diff against, precise against an error.
Yeah, like that.
So-
So you know what your address.
Exactly, and like you were saying, you run
Can you
this.
review this? It's
before
like an
you snapshot
incoming thing and I
it,
can't
you run this
understand.
after, and you run a report, and you can be sitting, they could be
just have to
sitting
approve it.
somewhere where someone could say, okay, or.
We can even have a bot that goes
I don't
to
know.
Launchpad
Oh,
and
that makes
charm
sense.
bugs and just does this. So by the time we're reviewing something, it already has the review report. Like this is what they do in
like
this
a
site
standard
already.
testing framework.
This is how the Garrett thing works. Like as soon as somebody proposes branches, it just starts running all their CI tests and all their dev stack tests and their smoke stack. And by the time a reviewer gets it, he knows like, did it do a performance regression? Did it introduce a new test that fails? Or like they're so good on the automated level. By the time a human gets it, we should know. And actually, that's been my number one complaint doing charm reviews is like the install has an obvious bug that doesn't work. So I'd love to do this. Yeah, as part of our charm testing.
Yeah.
I think that's worth doing this thing.
Whether we have
I think
next?
that we could get that automated.
Is it? No, we have Juju Charm Grip
Yeah. Well, these are tools that are just in Launchpad.
in
these
Ballroom
areas.
2.
Okay. They're in QA production testing.
Why? Because
You can just ping me.
Yeah, I'll be
software rate is my baby.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we'll be doing my charm graph right now. Story. So apparently Foundations is a new person, a file systems person.
Yeah.
And I mentioned to Lang a second to Colin that MDADM needs a look, and they're like, oh, that could be the first thing he does.
Oh yeah.
So
I need to go meet him so I can.
make sure you go there and say,
Here's my mess.
yeah, MDADM is not.
It's been a mess for years.
I know. I mean, like it's like MD 127. What?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
No, when I started working on Ubuntu, I've always been a huge software RAID fan, and I went to look at the bug list of NTADM. I mean, it's like a horror story because there's just angry users in there. Like, my RAID died,
Sensitive topic.
and I've been merging it for a few releases now. Never gets easier.
Oh, this terabyte's gone.
Why?
George, you got a session there? Did you try?
Yeah, George is just managed.
Did you try to?
Yeah, that's me. When do we start?
Turn the bar 2 in here.